All right, let's get into the action. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Saturday. We've got wild card weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing says wild card weekend like the Texans on Saturday afternoon.
Okay.
That's like kind of a classic, except instead of trotting Osweiler out there, it's Deshaun Watson, so it's more exciting.
That's definitely true.
Buffalo Bills, Houston Texans, Saturday afternoon.
We hate the Bills. I don't know if you know that, by the way.
What did we do
Have
now?
you got the memo? We just hate them. Tre'Davious White didn't make our All-Pro team. Tremaine Edmonds hasn't graded particularly well, even though he didn't miss a snap until Week 16. He's the youngest player ever to get back-to-back 100 tackle seasons.
That might not affect his production grade.
So the Bills have a really good defense. What's interesting is because of all this hate that we do on the Bills, there aren't that many players that are actually grading spectacularly well, right? They have a lot of guys that are grading okay, but the defense is better than that, right?
That's the third straight year under Sean McDermott. He has done a nice job of just making the players that they have better. And what the Bills do a really nice job of, how about this stat? Coverage grade against first reads, second best in the NFL. So when the quarterback looks to a side of the field and throws it that way, the Bills are the best in the NFL, or second best in the NFL from a coverage standpoint. So when Watson when he has to come off his first read, that's when he tends to hold the ball a little bit too long. That's when you get to 7 sacks. That's when you force fumbles in the pocket. The Bills have a good defense for that.
Nuke Hopkins and White went up against each other last year. Hopkins got a spectacular touchdown against really tight coverage, but White was flagged 3 times, I think, for defensive holding.
Yeah.
A couple of first downs in there as well. So this season, arguably, I think White's worst game came against Devontae Parker, who was suddenly, a decent big receiver. He's like 6'3", 210, something like that. So generally speaking, White struggles the most against guys that are, 4 inches taller than him and outweigh him by 25 pounds. So I would like to, if he is going to have a game that does sort of shut Nuke Hopkins down, he's going to need to do a better job of holding up physically against, that overmatched matchup.
So that's a matchup to watch. Radiohead.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've had to do one from an Uber one time. Completely forgot I had a hit. So I was Ubering somewhere. And then I did one outside too, really windy. And I was like right outside somebody's office, and the guy got really mad. It was like an artist. I don't even know what he was doing, but he was just in there and he was like, "Hi, I'm working here." And I was so loud. You know how loud I am?
Yeah.
I was so loud on the sidewalk that he was being disturbed. And I had my kids in the car. I couldn't go in the car. So I was outside on the sidewalk, windy, trying to find.
It takes some balls for the artist guy to start mouthing off at someone like you.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm not intimidating.
You really
enough.
need to work on this.
I'm still on the monitor later.
This is like the Josh Allen thing, right? There's no point in having a big arm if you can't get the ball down the field. There is no point in being your size if nobody is intimidated by it, except Khaled.
Yeah, he's afraid of me.
Right.
That's why he hasn't moved over here.
Well, he's like the only one. Unless you're going to put the fear of God into more people, you need to shrink.
All right, I'm gonna start pushing people around over here.
Dude, you need to.
Maybe not physically, but with.
Well, you start with the threat of physical, And
You think I should set that, like grab Tresh or something like that, push him around a little bit?
No. You start with the threat of it.
Oh, okay.
And then if they're still not buying it, you're going to need to rough somebody
Tresh
off.
is a good guy to like start threatening, right?
Sure, yeah. But then,
Looks young.
ultimately, if you get to the
like
point
15.
where they're still not buying it, then you're going to have to slap somebody around. You're going to have to grab Michael and just,
Michael, we're gonna go prove a point out there. All right.
Did you see the article where it was quoting Todd Haley, watching the Browns game and telling everyone that was listening, like he wanted Josh Allen number 1 instead of Baker? And it was being reported as if like this was, he saw the writing on the wall. He knew what he was doing. The rest of them were screwing it all up. But Todd Haley wanted the right quarterback.
Oh, he knew.
Like, Baker's played like crap this year, and he's still been better than Josh Allen.
Oh, boy. You're absolutely right, but boy, are you going to get torched. There's so many thumbs down going now
look,
on the YouTube channel.
I've already made it clear.
Podcast.
I've already made it clear that apparently I hate the Bills, so I might as well ride that.
None of
Embrace
Baker's
it.
interceptions are on him. It's true.
Not none of them, just a few of them aren't.
Most of them aren't. He got away with other ones that weren't, though.
That's true. Like I say, he played like crap.
He's still taking care of the ball way better than Allen.
Baker played badly and was still better than Josh Allen. So this idea that
Despite all the interceptions.
I wanted Allen first instead of that still doesn't make you right. You're still wrong. You're just less wrong than you were at the time.
Allen's in a better situation.
Like at the time, it was absurd. Now it's slightly less absurd, but you're still wrong.
Right. gap's been bridged a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. They've come closer together, but anybody taking Allen right now over Baker is still kind of crazy.
I would agree.
Good.
Did you make a decision on this game?
I did. I took the Texans.
All right, we're both taking the Texans. Saturday night, New England Patriots hosting the Tennessee Titans. The red-hot Tennessee Titans, everybody's darling.
The strength of the Titans offense going up against the strength of the New England defense should be pretty fascinating. But ultimately, if Tannehill plays as well as he's been playing, they're going to score some points.
Oh, they absolutely will. And that matchup, if we do see Gilmore versus Brown, which seems likely, right? Gilmore generally matches up against the not always the best receiver, but the one that fits his size and skill set, and that's A.J. Brown. Gilmore's got the number one coverage grade the last couple of years when playing single coverage. So any sort of one-on-one coverage. A.J. Brown, highest passer rating when targeted in single coverage. So great matchup. Something's got to give there.
And so they don't have an answer yet.
And if New England's offense is going to have success, we'll be sitting here Monday morning saying, wow, there's Mohamed Sanu with a breakout, or there's N'Keal Harry.
Right. One of those guys is going to have a big game.
And I think from a New England standpoint, they got to go into this and say, okay, either Sanu or James White has to win some matchups, or Rex Burkhead, one of these receiving options has to win some matchups. And then I think if they could get 4 or 5 scheme plays out of N'Keal Harry, put him in space, let him run after the catch, have him actually pull in one of the back shoulder fades that they throw him. I mean, that's where they're going to have success.
The other element to the game plan that I would employ is I would 100% treat the receiving backs of the Patriots as wide receivers.
Yeah.
Cover them with DBs. Do not even think about putting a linebacker right there. If they want to win the game through taking their receiving backs on the field and running the ball, fine. Like if that's their game plan, let them do it, because that is a brutal way, particularly to try and keep pace with an offense that's scoring points.
Tennessee's defense, I think, is going to be a big key here.
Yeah, I mean,
I think their defense does against New England's offense. Do they play up to their ability, or do they get torched by an offense that's been meh?
The way we sketched this out, I think that's what the entire game hinges on, is whether their defense can actually stop an offense that doesn't look like it's capable of getting going anyway.
Because it could be this middle ground where it's like the Patriots don't shut down Tennessee's offense. Tennessee's offense doesn't score 40, but it's like they score 21.
Right.
They score 24, and then the Patriots have to find a way to score 24, 27. And that's been a struggle this year, and that comes down to them versus the Tennessee defense and, where those few plays come from.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So you're taking Patriots, I'm taking Titans.
All right, let's go to the NFC. Minnesota Vikings at the New Orleans Saints.
This is the one from the weekend that I struggle to find a way the Vikings win this game.
Vikings fans also hate you because you say that all the time.
All right,
I struggle
tell me
to
I'm wrong.
Like, why can't they win?
Because they're not that good. And the Saints are really good. Like, the Saints were basically one of 3 teams that missed out on the number 1 overall seed in the NFC through a quirk of games late in the season. The Saints are as good as any team in the NFC. The Vikings are not.
I agree, but...
Right, so shut the hell up.
You said you can't... What's happening out there? That's what Kirk is like. Like, it's prime time. Everybody's watching. Something's different. But it's like, it's 1 o'clock. There's 9 games on. Now only Minnesota fans are watching. I'm okay.
Right.
I'm good. Everybody's watching at 1 o'clock this week, though. It's the only game.
He doesn't know that, though.
You think the body clock?
Yeah, the body clock and the muscle memory is just thinking this is just a regular 1 p.m. game that only Vikings fans are into.
He's just such a morning. Like, Kirk also strikes me as the guy that's up at 4 in the morning, and he's got a nice routine, and 1 o'clock's kind of like the peak of his day instead of the afternoon. It's like the peak.
That's possible.
So he's like ready for bed by prime time. Maybe that's why he can't win.
That's true.
That's what it is.
Their real problem is, they haven't really beaten anybody that's good yet. We thought that game was the Dallas game, and then it turns out the Dallas kind of suck. They lost to Kansas City, or it was close. They lost to Seattle. Again, it was close.
Dallas was still good. They just lost so many close games.
I mean, were they good?
Yes.
They lost to Green Bay twice. The second time got kind of embarrassing by the end of it. So, they really haven't beaten a team that's actually been good this year.
Yeah.
So now they're going to go up against a team that isn't just good, but might be as good as any team in the NFL on the road. I mean, that just doesn't... We're not teeing things up for a great Vikings victory is all I'm saying.
What about narrative-wise? Everybody, it's the playoffs. QB legends are made or not made, right? Kirk Cousins has to get over this hump of winning big games. So that's on the line. Drew Brees is looking for that elusive second Super Bowl run. Hasn't had one 10 years ago in 2009. If he does make it this year, it would involve beating the Vikings and most likely going through Green Bay. It would have to go through Green Bay, and then most likely going through San Francisco. There's always the chance San Francisco could lose and actually the Saints could host the NFC Championship. But if that all happens, I mean, that's, I love it because Breeze and Rodgers and Wilson and guys that have already won Super Bowls, and then guys like Watson and Lamar and Mahomes, guys who are just trying to build their playoff legacy. That's what we're at right now, playoff legacy type of stuff. And Breeze has another, not as nice as the bye, but another golden opportunity to kind of move that forward. But I think you're going to need special Kirk. That's how the Vikings are going to win.
Yeah.
He's going to hit those deep shots, hope that Breeze makes a few mistakes. Other than that, though, I'm definitely going Saints.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get to the last game of the weekend. Seattle Seahawks traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Seahawks are favored on the road, right? The only road team that's actually favored. We've talked about the NFC East. The Eagles backpedal into the playoffs. That would be why the Seahawks are favored. Also because the Eagles are so banged up offensively.
Yes.
Everybody's hurt. Mm-hmm. But this should be a good one as well, though.
I think that this is another one of those games where everyone has kind of gone too far, and there's a reasonable chance that the Eagles win this game. Philadelphia's injury crisis is like a whole different level, right? They ran out of everybody.
Yeah.
They're almost completely out of bodies at any position. They're dragging people in off the street. They're the whole thing is a mess, right? Seattle's isn't that bad, but Seattle's getting pretty banged up themselves. They just had to sign their 2016 backfield back again because all their running backs got hurt.
Dwayne Brown's out. Joey Hunt's not participating in practice. I mean, they got a lot of...
Exactly. So they have a lot of injuries, and ordinarily that would be seen as an injury crisis, but when compared to Philadelphia's, it's like a bad day at the doctor's office. It's not... So, but the point is that, Philadelphia's biggest weakness in this game, the fact that all of their guys got injured, is less of a problem or more comparable to their opposition than it would be against any other opposition. Right? Every other NFC team is way healthier than both of these sides. So that's a big thing in their favor. The second thing is, they've been able to win even with the revolving door of no bodies. Right?
Yeah, they've been stitching it together, man.
They have a ton of pass rush still, and now there's no Dwayne Brown. The Seattle offensive line is still one of the worst pass protecting units in football. They should be able to pressure Russell Wilson a decent amount. Now, he's going to make some plays because Philadelphia's secondary is, not good. But they should be able to pressure him a lot, and you might be able to force a bad Russell Wilson game that hasn't really happened this year.
The other thing I think of note, first half of just the cyclical nature, you talk about pressure and how important it is and all that stuff versus sacks. First half of the season when Russell Wilson was the clear MVP candidate, passer rating of 112 under pressure. And then second half of the year, cut that in half. 61.9. More than half. Right? Yeah. No, about half. Less than half.
Stop talking. What are you saying?
Half-ish. 61.9. Come on, Steve. Do some math in your head a little bit better than that. Almost half.
Yeah.
61.9 passer rating in the second half of the season. We don't love passer rating as a stat, but it's just like an easy descriptor of what's happening. And I think passer rating it's not a great QB stat, especially in small sample sizes, but it's a good passing offense efficiency stat for the most part. Not perfect. It's not EPA for teams, but I think it tells a story. That was bound to regress. There's also the coaching aspect of it. And look, in the analytics community, I think we tend to only, what?
I'm just curious where you're going with this. In
the analytics community, I feel like folks only tend to focus on what they see, right? So in the analytics community, John Harbaugh is making all of the right decisions on fourth down. Therefore, he's a champion, right? Pete Carroll is more conservative on fourth down. Therefore, he is not. He is frowned upon. Coaching is way more than that. You're CEO of the team and its motivation and all that stuff. And Pete Carroll has an unbelievable track record of taking different types of teams, different style teams, and just winning. Now, you could argue when you have Russell Wilson, covers a multitude of sins, so to speak, just like Tom Brady, I think, does as well in New England, and QBs always do. So does this come down to coaching? and coaching decisions. Not the motivation factor, not the can you get this out of your team, but Pete Carroll, his aggressiveness or lack thereof versus Doug Peterson and his aggressiveness could come down.
So I think it's fair to say, I can't remember what it was you were talking about earlier, but the Tre'Davious White thing, right? These two things can exist at the same time.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll can be both a very good coach and a guy who is steadfastly ignoring things that would make him even better.
Yeah.
So he has zero interest in embracing these edges that a lot of the smartest coaches in the NFL are, all about right now. The fourth down stuff, the when to go for two, the when not to punt in your, the opposing territory, all this kind of stuff, right? Pete Carroll is basically look, I'm too old to change. Can't teach an old dog new tricks. I've been flying by the seat of my pants for years. I got a pretty good feel for what this should look like. I'm going to do it that way. The best coaches in the NFL right now are saying, well, look, there are definitive numbers for how these things should go, right? At the very minimum, they should give us the framework within which to work. And if I want to go, well, you know what, there's something here that I don't like in this specific occasion, I'm going to go against the numbers, but I have a reason for it. That's cool, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. But by and large, that will dramatically improve your edge in these specific areas because you're working from something more concrete than my gut feel.
I just wanted to speak generally to that whole concept. Isn't it funny in sports where the idea of analytics has been kind of like created as like, well, it must be opposing to traditional thought, right? When it's all it is just more information. It's like if your fiance, who you think is spectacular, cheats on you randomly, and there's more information about maybe her character, you might reconsider your decision-making with the wedding instead of like, nope, I trust my gut. I loved her initially, and I believe in her. She's a good kid. I've got more information at the table here.
I usually think that when you start dabbling in metaphors, it's playing with fire.
Is that a good one?
I think you really hit on one there. I like that.
I've been thinking about this metaphor for about 5 minutes now, and I'm like, oh man, this could really burn me. But Sam likes it.
No, I think that's a good one.
Oh, yeah. Good.
I mean, it's a high wire act when you start messing with metaphors, but I think you nailed it there.
Oh yeah, I see it in your eyes. You're like, oh, Steve's metaphoric.
I like that.
Metaphoring or something.
I think it's a good way of describing it, though. That I think the analytics as a word now is just getting messy, and people.
Everybody thinks that you're either this or that.
Right.
Right.
But ultimately,
you're this, you're analytics.
You're describing it correctly. That all analytics is generating more information about things. Now, usually it's through combing through giant swathes of data, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, from a definition standpoint, when coaches would go through in the 1960s reel-to-reel cut-ups of their opposition and pull out tendencies.
Looking for information.
That's analytics.
That's it.
That is literally what analytics is. All that's happened is instead of a guy in a dark room with several reel-to-reels of the opposition, it's digital data that's available at the touch of a button and encompasses every play, in the last however many years. Like it's all there.
It's more information. Do what you want with it.
Yes. So analytics is not necessarily telling you anything. The information within, or the information gleaned from those analytics can be. And some of the information does point you in specific ways when it comes to fourth downs, punting, 2 points, et cetera, et cetera.
So there you go. All right, so where are you going to go with this game?
I'm going to go with the Eagles. I don't like it.
Good. No, that's you need to. You've been on this take for months.
I have, but I never liked it. I was never wild on the idea.
I'm taking Seattle.
I pitched it as an idea once, got told to write an article on it, and got like 6 words into it and couldn't come up with any more.
Yeah, did I help you? I tried to send you a frame.
No, you were useless.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.